जो तुझसे लगन लगाए वो तुझ में ही खो जाए जो तुझसे लगन लगाए वो तुझ में ही खो जाए जो तुझसे योग लगाए वो परमानंद को पाए तू सत्य है तू शक्ति है तू सत्य है तू शक्ति है जो तुझसे लगन लगाए वो तुझ में ही खो जाए जो तुझसे योग लगाए वो परमानंद को पाए तू सत्य है तू शक्ति है तू सत्य है तू शक्ति है गहरा सागर हम सारे तेरे मोती हम सब का तू ही रचयिता हम सब है रचना तेरी तू सोमनाथ तू शक्तिमान तू देता ज्ञानी को ज्ञान जो तुझसे लगन लगाए बिन मांगे सब पा जाए जो तुझसे योग लगाए वो परमानंद को पाए तू सत्य है
Om Shanti, good morning. Welcome back to the Pavitrata series on purity, episode 4 today. This song is saying, you are the incorporeal one. You are the ocean of love. You are the supreme bliss. It sounds like a love song, and it is a love for the Supreme Soul, for God. Let us start with a few readings from Raja Yoga teachings. This is from the teachings of 1987. Today, God was looking at the personality of purity on the forehead of each of you children. Children are the souls. The sparkle of purity of each of you was number-wise, with a number, according to your efforts. The main basis of the spiritual life is purity. The greatness of all of you elevated souls is your purity. The purity which you attain in this birth is a prosperity of you souls for many future births. Purity is a basis for world transformation. Purity is a basis for world transformation. It is because of your purity that even today you are considered to be more elevated than any living forms. Even famous people of today continue to bow down to purity. You children, you souls, receive this purity from the Father as your birthright. People consider purity to be very difficult, whereas you experience it to be very easy. For you children, the definition of purity is very ordinary, because you are now aware that the original form of the soul is always pure. The eternal form is of a pure soul, and the original form is of a pure deity. Now, the last birth too is a pure spiritual life. On the basis of this awareness, you experience it to be very easy to create a pure life. Impurity is an external religion, is not yours, whereas purity is your own original religion. It feels easy to adopt your own original Dar religion. The first order that the Father gives you, obedient souls, obedient children, is become pure. For only then will you be able to become yogi. It is easy to be pure when you realize the original eternal form of the soul. It is a soul that is eternally pure. And then in this confusion, in this sleep of the intellect, in this sleep of the awareness, in ignorance, the soul gets identified with the body and starts to believe it is his body, starts to believe that there is something to gain from this association with the body. And in this association with the body, impurity starts to creep in. It is through the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, the knowledge about the soul, that we can regain our purity. Purity means knowing that I'm a soul, I'm not this body. The one who is speaking right now is behind this face. The one that is hearing right now, listening, talking, sharing, is a tiny, tiny spark of light. A spark of light that is eternal, divine, and conscious. It is able to perceive through the senses of the body. It is able to communicate. It is able to share. It is able to make sense of everything that is around me at this moment in time. This is a soul, the true self, the real self, the being of light, the one that everyone on the spiritual path has been trying to understand and to connect and to experience the beauty and the perfection of this being of light. However, in the darkness of ignorance, in the darkness of devotion, in the darkness of knowing who we are, it was very difficult. And that's why so many saints and so many rishis, munis, monks, priests have all been advocates of celibacy, of chastity, because in the darkness of the last 2,500 years, that was the only pillar, that was the only support. How can we regain that clarity of mind and intellect? It is through the history of man that we have seen all these saints and sages were great advocates of purity, of chastity. And it is in the words of Ramakrishna Paramanda, who says, the whole world is of the mother's form. Where is there room for sex or wicked thoughts? With the whole world in the form of a mother. What trouble is there in observing brahmacharya? What trouble is there in observing brahmacharya, in observing chastity? Swami Vivekananda says, we need chaste men. We need men who live in chastity, and women whose blood vessels and veins are strong as steel, and in whose body there dwells a mind that is made of the stuff of a thunderbolt. Such men, such women who observe chastity become so strong and their mind becomes like a thunderbolt. Lev Tolstoy says, in order to establish peace and happiness, both men and women must observe chastity. Sri Aurobindo says brahmacharya and yoga are the way to happiness. There is no other way. Swami Ramatirth says purity, yes, you will have to protect it with all your might. Otherwise, the wheels of evolution will crush you. And the false thought of evolution, thinking that we need that lust and you need all the power, all the might to protect your chastity. Purity is the only source of hope for you. Purity is the only source of hope for you. Just as the results of biological reproduction have been forbidden, marriages between near relations, so the prime condition to fulfill in order to live is that your mind is untouched by lust. Everything we say and we do here is to regain this mind and intellect that is untouched by lust, by desire for other bodies, by unlimited desire for everything, that desire for everything that is around us, whether it is a body or whether it is a possession of someone else or whether it is food, that desire has become the condition of all human beings. Human beings are living in the darkness of ignorance, and that darkness is only bringing sorrow and peacelessness. It is also the example of Buddha. Buddha has left his family and he chose this path of self-realization to really understand the self and to understand the world, to understand God. Mahavir, Adi Shankaracharya, all the saints, all the well-known people who have made a change in this world, they have made that change by adopting chastity, by adopting brahmacharya. That will not going to be without obstruction. If someone chooses a path of chastity, there will be obstruction. And let us hear the words of Jagdish Bai, a very well-known speaker in Brahma Kumaris. Jagdish Bai speaking about the obstructions that will be entailed in this path of chastity. Isn't it a great sin to prevent anybody from observing brahmacharya? In face of what the scriptures declare about it as the highest duty, the greatest sacrifice, the real yoga, the fundamental form of the soul. All the scriptures are saying that. The basic spirits that should guide our activities, the means of acquiring health, peace, and prosperity, and the giver of all of that is said to be obtained by studying all the Vedas. The ultimate goal, the realization of the self and the supreme soul. So isn't it a great sin to prevent or obstruct someone to observe brahmacharya, to observe chastity? Everyone's life is invaluable, and therefore, if anyone desires to attain the ultimate goal of life, if anyone earns to dedicate themselves to obtain happiness, peace of mind, and divine bliss, it would be unforgettable, unforgivable sin from the spiritual point of view to stand in his way. In short, it is sinning against God to obstruct a brahmachari's path. Just as it is cruel to prevent a thirsty person from taking water, so it is becoming a sinner to prevent anyone from shaking his thirst for celibacy, for getting that fulfilled, that desire of celibacy being fulfilled. Those persons who believe that sexual relations are natural or they have the right to indulge in that, to say at least they are misguided. If those persons were right, the scriptures wouldn't declare lust to me to be the more deadly than poison, or that it leads to one's ruination. It is scriptures that are advocating that lust is the biggest enemy of the spirit of the soul. The Bible says, do not love the world and the things of the world. For the one who loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. The things of the world will pass away, and all the lusts of this world will pass away. But the one who does the will of God will live forever. It is a soul that does the will of God. And the will of God, as we have heard the words in Raja Yoga, is purity. Become pure for this one birth. Become pure for this only one spiritual birth. And there will be all the possible attainments: happiness, peace, prosperity, harmony. A good society is created by those who are observing this purity. When one decides to observe celibacy and chastity, there will be lots of obstruction. Everyone around you will find all the possible reasons why you shouldn't do it. They will come up with 10 reasons, 10 excuses. First, they will say it's not healthy for you. You shouldn't observe chastity or celibacy. It is not good for your health. Then they will say it's not mentally good for you, your mind, you are not going to be able to rest, your mind is not going to be able to be content. You need sex or lust or other type of indulgence. Then they will say it is not intellectually good. You're not going to have friends, you're not going to have people with whom to share. Your intellect will be on something else. You're not going to be able to concentrate or think about it because you're going to be hunted by that desires. That's what they're going to say. Then they will say it is not spiritually good. Who is doing that? Look at everyone in religions or those who get married. You can do it. It's not a matter of being spiritual. To be chaste, to be a celibate. They will come with the scriptures. They will say, look what it says in the scripture. Look what it says in the religion. Look what they say in church. They will say it is not social. How are you going to make friends? You're going to live without friends. You're going to be able to live without anyone else. What are you going to see on Facebook? What are you going to see on Instagram? They will say it's not possible for you to live isolated or to live without friends or to live without those whose company. They are indulging in all of that. How are you going to be on your own? They will try to convince you with the whole family. The whole family will come together and they will put pressure on you. They will say you either get married or you get out of this house. They will try all kinds of reasons and excuses. They will come up with a priest. They will say the priest will convince you. The rabbin, the Hindu Brahman priest, everyone will try to convince you. Eventually, they will say, God is dead. You can't attain God. You can't know God. God is not here. Why are you doing all this spiritual effort? They will come with 10 different reasons to convince you that chastity, celibacy is not for you and is not needed and is not going to bring you any benefit. You have to be very strong. You have to know that you are a soul, and that soul can only attain soul consciousness, peace, love, happiness, can only attain God and experience God when there is purity of mind. The ultimate goal is a pure mind, a pure intellect, and a pure personality. And chastity, brahmacharya, purity of the body, is the first step. And we will continue to see which are the next steps. But let us start with a foundation and make that very strong for yourself. The soul is independent. The soul needs no one. I need no man, I need no woman. I, the soul, am a friend of God, a companion of God, can learn with God and can share that with everyone else. Let us finish with 1 minute of listening to a song. Thank you.
मांगे सब पा जाए, जो तुझसे जो लगाए वो परमानंद तो पाए। तू सत्य है, तू शक्ति है, तू सत्य है, तू शक्ति है। एकाग्रचित्त होके कोई जो एक पल तेरा ध्यान धरे, मिट जाए उसके कलेश, हो जाए इस दुनिया से परे। तू प्राणनाथ, तू योगेश्वर है, तेरा घर शांति का घर। जो तुझसे लगन लगाए वो तुझ में ही खो जाए।